look like a mess. Hello. Oh, what a mess. Holy moly. Welcome to Let's Talk News. I'm Leticia Remauro and I'm your host tonight. And I'm late and I didn't feel like putting on makeup, to tell you the truth. Hopefully you can hear me. I have a little frog in my throat. But anyway, you're not here to hear me as much as to talk about what's on your mind, which I love. So I'm going to depend on all of you to do a lot of talking today. It's been some sort of day today. The whole Epstein file thing was just it's what we've been talking about for weeks. I swear they all watch our show and they pick up pointers from us. Hi, Kevin Young. Hello, Howard Zim. Hello, Lucille. Good to have you. Oh, good. Okay, so I have a little froggy, and clearly I didn't feel like getting dressed. I hope you guys don't take it personal. It's just a little chilly and dank and dark over here in South Carolina. And yeah, it was one of those days. Hello, Angela Ricca. Hello, Mama. Good to have you. So, the Epstein Files. Everybody but Clay Higgins from Louisiana voted to release the files, and the reason he didn't vote to release the files is because his concern is what we've been saying all along. It could create more victims. It could give these rich and powerful people an opportunity for their lawyers to kind of get them off the hook. And these people who were abused, both women and men, now it's coming out, won't get justice, right? And that's just amazing to me that, it's simple. It's simple logic. Right? Anybody that's a lawyer can understand it. And Mike Johnson went on today and talked about the reasons it shouldn't be released. And honestly, if I was a better host, I would have gotten you all 5 reasons. But the top 3, and there was one that stood out, and it was number 3, which was crazy to me, was that the way this petition was written, it's going to show whatever explicit child pornography that are contained in the Epstein files. It's going to be out there. It's going to be out there. No protection. It's just going to go out there because they did not cite the proper ruling or something like that. And so the Democrats put this together, in their haste, not that they didn't have years and years and years to do it if they were really interested, but we know that they're not, right? We know that they're using this as a pivot point or political point to try to, beat Trump. But they don't care. They don't care about the victims. They don't care about making new victims. They don't care about putting child pornography into the public realm. They don't care. They care about, what did they call it? Leverage. They care about leverage. They care about politics. And that's what gets me crazy. Hello, Colleen Mahoney. Good to have you with us. All right, so I made a shambles out of cutting this this video, but we'll watch it anyway. I had to try and pare it down to 3 minutes, and yeah, because he spoke a long time, Johnson. Here you go.
But as drafted, the discharge petition, it fails to fully protect victim privacy. I'm going to read you an excerpt out of our legal document we put together to explain all this. Congress should give the Attorney General broader authority to redact all the victim information. The discharge doesn't do that. This would prevent the release of information that could be used to unmask victims who have chosen to remain anonymous. Now, you have some very brave women who have come forward and put their names and faces out there and done press conferences and explained that justice is overdue, and our hearts go out to them, and they are heroes. But you have as many as 1,000 women, by some of the accounts, who may be caught up in this. And the vast majority of them have not come forward, probably for obvious reasons. They don't want to be unmasked. But the discharge petition doesn't have adequate protections. It risks re-victimizing those who were trafficked and exploited. And the courts have recognized this concern, by the way. I'll read you a quick excerpt. On August 20th of this year, Judge Richard Berman, the Southern District of New York, issued an order denying the DOJ's request to release Epstein grand jury materials, noting, quote, names and identifying information of victims appear in the subject materials, unquote. Judge Berman then quoted a letter related to the victims' concerns, which stated the following, quote, transparency cannot come at the expense of the very people whom the justice system is sworn to protect, unquote. And importantly, the judge quoted a letter from one of the victims. In the proceedings, she is named as Jane Doe 2. She said this is one of the victims, quote, I beg the court to make sure it is of the utmost priority that in any sort of release, all and every detail that could possibly reveal our identities be redacted. The victims of Epstein's evils deserve that protection, and the discharge does not currently provide it, okay? Number two, the discharge petition could create new victims, okay? Because it requires the DOJ to release information even in cases where the DOJ or the FBI has already reviewed it and determined it is not credible, it is false information. Doing this and requiring this to come out could ruin the reputations of completely innocent people, such as those who have may just have known Epstein but knew nothing of his crimes, or whose names he exploited. Think of this, innocent people whose names he exploited and used to try to get close to his intended victims. Their names may be in these files, and they had nothing to do with this. And so by just haphazardly releasing it, you're going to destroy their reputations. Releasing information containing the names of innocent people would subject those innocent people to a guilt by association. It would create an entirely new group of victims who have no means to clear their names. That's a concern of Congress, and it should be. It should be. Number three, the discharge in its current form fails to prohibit the release of child sexual abuse material.
So, the other one was future investigations. It would impede future investigations. And then also it's just declassifying information. So that would hurt the government's case against the criminals. I'm starting to wonder if that was what the Democrats wanted all along, right? Because if the majority of people contained in the files seems to be Democrats, maybe they're trying to protect them. I don't know. Meanwhile, it's going to show Bill Clinton being on Epstein Island 100 times. Yeah. So maybe that's why they want to weaken the government's case against, the perpetrators. The left is probably looking forward to the kiddie porn. It's so gross. Hello, Tammy. How are you? I just don't. I can't wrap my head around it unless it's that they want to try and get ahead of it, because so many people are. Epstein was a finagler, so people will be mentioned in there and be shocked when they see their name, and guilt by association. A whole bunch of people might not get reelected, or powerful people might not be able to be heads of corporations or banks because maybe Jeffrey Epstein said something about maybe going to get a loan or something. I don't know. What is the age where someone is not considered a child in this matter? That's a good question, right? Because the age of consent is different in every state, right? Some are 16, some are 17, some are higher. So that's a really, really good question, Kevin. I cannot answer it, but maybe we can find, maybe our great Googlers will find the answer to that, because it is a good question. And if we can't Google and find out today, I'll find out tomorrow. Hi, Susan. Good to have you there. Okay, we're saying hello to each other. Michael Petrides is here. Hi, Michael. So yeah, it's, and I'm going to share my screen in a minute so we can see what Higgins said. Are they really going to prosecute anyone? They've had this stuff for 6 years and no prosecutions. Well, so what people are saying is that the reason that stuff couldn't be released And this is what's interesting. This is the thing that gets me crazy, is that Ghislaine Maxwell was on trial, and they didn't want to, screw up her due process and her right to a presumption of innocence, right? So they couldn't release the files, because if they release the files, then somehow or another it might screw her ability to defend herself, and it might create prejudice in her case. So they couldn't release the files. But now they're saying release the files when there's a whole bunch of other people who are going to be harmed or protected, or have an advantage because the files were released. Make it make sense, because it doesn't, right? That was the whole thing. Why couldn't Biden release it? Well, Biden couldn't release it because there was a trial going on, and a judge said, if you release the files now, you will negatively impact Ghislaine Maxwell's right to defend herself. Okay, so how about the hundreds of other people who are contained in there that were doing wrong? Why wouldn't we be careful about that? Because right now they're playing political ping pong, and it's really it's bad news. It really is. Good evening, Andrew Dorman. Maybe just a distraction for the Dems. Yes, it's a distraction, but just like closing the government, they're fucking with people's lives and they don't care, because they need the leverage. They need the leverage. They think that somehow or another this is going to help them, in the 2026 elections. Could it be that, there are going to be big business people in there? Could it be that Obama already knows what's in there? Obviously he does, right? He was president when the first time that Epstein got arrested, or was it being investigated, when Trump was actually, talking to Bradley Edwards and helping the victims. And then Epstein got off with a slap on the wrist. So, I mean, people know what was going on with Epstein. The Democrats always knew, right? Had the information. They didn't do anything with it. Did I say hi to Maisie? Hi, Maisie. Hello, brother. How are you? So, this is really, it just burns my ass. In California, a 24-year-old can legally have sex with a 14-year-old, up to 10 years age difference, with minimum age 14. Thank you, Colleen. There you go. Epstein was in Florida, so I would guess Florida standards. He was in Florida and New York, and then his island, I think, was in that nomad's land, international waters. So Colleen, can you Google what the age of consent in Florida and New York is? I think Florida, I think it's 17, because I got married at 17. Yeah. So, yeah, I think so. Colleen Mahoney heard that before. Does Trump know what's in the files? Has he seen everything? I don't know if he's seen everything or not. Does he know what's in the files? I'm sure that they looked at the files. I'm sure that there were people there that he said, oh, this is going to be bad for this person if it gets out. But he now has said it. He said, the people who have to watch themselves are the Democrats, lending money, giving money to Epstein, doing business with Epstein. He's the one who brought Obama and Clinton into the conversation. So, and don't forget that Trump didn't arrest Hillary because he thought that it would be very bad for the wife of the former first lady to be arrested. And he was right. I mean, what kind of lunatics are we? We're not a third world nation. We're at least we're not supposed to. We don't arrest our political rivals. And Trump, is an honorable man, but that apparently they're not, right? Because the first chance they got, they made up all kinds of shit and they tried to arrest him. They did arrest him. Yeah, in New York, in New York and Florida. And then Epstein Island was in some sort of international kind of protected place. That's why he did it. They obviously tried to hide the Democrats who are guilty of these horrific crimes. I don't know. I mean, I don't know who the they is. I don't know. I'm amazed that any files exist on anything, quite frankly. Because if I was the FBI, I wouldn't be keeping files. I mean, everything would. What was it? Mission Impossible, right? The tapes would self destruct. I would imagine that's how our government should be. Chuck failed miserably with his shutdown. All Democrats want his head on the platter. He thinks getting the Epstein files out will show he accomplished one thing in his 100 years in Congress. That's a good point, Howard. And did you see that? I forget his name, from the city council. The socialist in the city council is going to run against Hakeem Jeffries, and he'll win. In a primary, he'll win, and I'm going to tell you why he'll win. Because in a primary, the more left people will, Democrat primary, the people in the left will win. So they're coming after everybody. Good evening, Ramon. Good to have you. So for 20 years, Epstein has been spotlighted, and nobody has been arrested besides him and Ghislaine. Prince Andrew walked. Yep. He's not going to walk for long, I don't think. If Trump's not in the files, Dems will just say Trump took himself off the list and out of the files. Dems won't be happy. They're saying that already. Maisie. You said that's it. You can't win. It only going to mess Democrats up in the next election. I hope you're right, but I just don't know. I don't know. Florida 18, New York 17. There you go. So those are your age of consent to whoever asked. I think it was Kevin Wall, and it was a good question. Hello there, Professor. So what was I going to do? Yeah, I have a headache. Why do I have a headache? All right, we were going to share the screen. No, that's not it. Hold on a second. I can't remember what I'm doing here. Okay, screen share. This one. No, this one. So Clay Higgins, the lone no vote on the near unanimous House legislation. Oh, by the way, the Senate passed it as well. So there we go. So I guess it's coming out tomorrow, or as soon as they can get it out. It might come out tonight, in the middle of the night. Who knows? The Epstein files, that is. Rep. Clay Higgins, the lone no vote on the near unanimous House legislation to force a release of the Justice Department's files on the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, said on Tuesday that he opposed it on privacy grounds. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America. As written, this bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people, witnesses, people who provided alibis, family members, etc. If enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt. 427 House lawmakers, including 216 Republicans, voted in favor of the legislation on Tuesday, 2 days after President Donald Trump urged his party to support it on Truth Social. And there you go. They're saying the White House had spent months lobbying against the effort. And I don't know that that's true. I think what he said was that there was nothing more to see here, folks, kind of thing. So nobody is above the law. Trump did a political favor for Hillary. That was a mistake. Yeah, it was. She was a government employee, not first lady at the time. You're absolutely right. And he screwed himself, right? He screwed himself by thinking more broadly than vengeance. I mean, truly. But I think too, Colleen, America, and this is the thing with the files too. How many international people are going to be involved in this? I mean, I'm going to go to you because you have kept me abreast of Q stuff. How many people do we think are in here? How many princes, kings, queens, movie stars? Who's going to be in these files? They turned the Epstein files like it was the X files. Yeah, right, exactly. Only I think the Epstein files are more dangerous than anything they found in the X files. All the Republicans in Congress should start calling him Comrade Schumer. Oh, that's a good idea. I love that. How am I feeling? I'm feeling fine. How are you feeling, Mom? Did you like dinner? Okay. So now so the other thing that happened was that Texas can't redistrict the way it wanted to redistrict. And that sucks. Hi, Marianne. Good to have you. So we're going to share the screen again. I'm getting good at this now. Okay, here we go. Federal court blocks Texas from using new congressional gerrymander in 2026 midterms. So the decision is a major blow for Republicans in Texas and nationally who pushed through this unusual mid-decade redistricting at the behest of President Donald Trump. They were hoping the new map would yield control of 30 of the state's 38 congressional districts, up from the 25 they currently hold, and help protect the narrow GOP majority in the U.S. House. Quote, the public perception of the case is that it's about politics. U.S. Judge Jeffrey Brown, a Trump appointee, wrote in the ruling, striking down the new lines. To be sure, politics played a role in the drawing, the 2025 map, but it was much more than just politics. Substantial evidence shows that Texas racially gerrymandered the 2025 map. So Brown ordered that the 2026 congressional election shall proceed under the map that the Texas legislature enacted in 2021. And Attorney General Ken Paxton said in a statement that his office would ask the U.S. Supreme Court to reverse the ruling and allow the map to go into effect. But time is short. Candidates only have until December 8th to file for the upcoming election. So here is the interesting situation here. In New York, they're suing, the Democrats are suing over Nicole Maliotakis's district, the 13th, saying that it doesn't have enough minorities in it. So they want to draw her into Manhattan or something. So the question is, if you can't use ethnicity to draw maps, then the lawsuit that the Dems brought against Nicole should be thrown out. If the Supreme Court flips this and allows for ethnic gerrymandering, then Nicole Maliotakis, they could go forward with the lawsuit. So it's really interesting, and it's unfortunate because now we have Gavin Newsom, who got his Prop 50 through, and they're going to draw a whole bunch of districts that are going to favor the Democrats. And will there be time, for 2026? Because petitions, you have to have the candidates in place by December 8th, and I think petitions start in January. So is there time to for them to draw is there time for a lawsuit to beat Gavin Newsom's districts back? This may be a whole shit show that we didn't expect. And I'm very concerned about it. Very, very concerned about it. This is not what you want to see for midterms. And you don't want to be caught off guard. Now, here's what I think. I think if President Trump just continues to do what he's doing and the economy continues to recover from the bullshit that the Bidens and the Democrats did to it, then in 2026, people will give him a Republican Congress to work with. But he has to stay on track. And all this stuff is a distraction. We got 6 minutes. Okay, so let's talk about Charlotte. Colleen, this is your neck of the woods. I'm going to show you a CBS clip, and I'm going to remind everybody that Charlotte is where that young Ukrainian woman was stabbed to death on the train. So they're having lots of problems there. Watch.
On welcoming immigrants. Skylar Henry has more from Charlotte.
Federal immigration agents swept across Charlotte over the weekend, from landscaping gigs to shopping centers, arresting 81 people on Saturday alone. And yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security said a U.S. citizen drove a large van at law enforcement mid-operation, ramming cars and injuring an officer before he was arrested. The immigration raids drew protests in a strongly Democratic city where around 18% of residents were born outside the U.S.
A lot of friends and family and acquaintances who say that they're not going out, they're having their kids who are citizens go and pick up their clothes and food for them.
Customs and Border Protection Chief of Patrol Gregory Bovino uploaded photos of several people who were apprehended, claiming they are in the country illegally and outlining their alleged criminal histories. But in videos posted online, some who were detained said they do have legal status. That includes Willie Isotuno, who was filming as federal agents broke a window of his truck before detaining him Saturday, even though he says he's a citizen. They threw me to the ground, and I always have my papers with me in my bag, he said. They didn't care. I told them many times. Once the agents did look at his documents, Isotuno said he was allowed to walk back to his car.
Any level of coordination with local or state officials has been basically non-existent.
Mark Jarrell is the chair of the Mecklenburg County Board of Commissioners.
People are scared. They're living in fear. I don't know who is being targeted. I don't know if it's a community or if it's individual.
So I'm just trying, I'm really trying to understand these protesters. I mean, we know that they're paid protesters. We know that they're, from the Vera Project and from, the Democrat Justice League. And they're basically all being paid by Soros or his friends or the Socialists of America. But at some point, don't people want their dignity? I mean, can it really be that people think that it's perfectly okay to live in shit? That we should just allow everybody into our country, and if Americans get killed, so be it. And if women get raped, who cares? I was which was it? Let's see. I was reading something online today about a gentleman in New York, and he was in a cab. I'm going to paraphrase. And he said, he was Arab American. And so he got in the cab and he started talking to the cab driver, who was also Arab. And so he said it was good to, hear the language, and they spoke in Arabic. And the cab driver told the passenger that, he was so fortunate to be here in America, and that, he's been able to do so well and, send his kids to college. I think he was here for like 30 years or something like that. And so the passenger said, it's really a shame, though, what's going on with, if you look at Europe with the Sharia law and how they're trying to impose now Sharia law in Europe and in Canada, when people like you who've come, escaped to be free. And he said that the cab driver said, oh, no, absolutely not. You should, they should allow Sharia law. That's the law of the people that immigrated there. And he defended Sharia law and kind of demanded that it be adopted, even here in America. And the passenger was astonished, because here the guy was saying, you left your country because you wanted freedom in America. You received that freedom. You were able to make money, send kids to school, take advantage of free speech and education and everything else. But yet you want Sharia law here. You escaped from a place where there was Sharia law to come here. But now you wanted to come here. Think about that. I guess there are just people who want to live in shit. They just can't wrap their mind around real freedom. They said 20,000 kids were absent from Charlotte schools because of ICE. That's more kids than some entire school districts nearby. There are way more illegals here than I thought. Yeah, well, do remember, Kyle, when we were driving the Blue Ridge Mountain and we saw so many people who were clearly not from this country because they were wearing the garments of their native country along the mountains, and both of us were a little bit shocked and surprised. What's the worry if they're legal and did nothing wrong? Well, there you go. But they're not. They're not legal, and they've done something wrong because they wouldn't be arrested if they hadn't been. And, that's the situation. Okay, it's 30:35, so I got to go. Additionally, I saw several Charlotte residents begging for the National Guard, and city leadership ignores them and fights against the National Guard. Absolutely. If you are breaking the law, you should be afraid. I agree, 100%. All right, well, thank you all for joining this disjointed, messed up Let's Talk News. I will see you tomorrow where will have my hair combed and be in a much better mood. Love you all. Thank you. Please share and like and subscribe on YouTube.